What's going on, guys? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today I'm checking out the standard vault case from Vault Case Company. This is kind of a modular, nice storage / travel pouch. It's pretty hard shell. It's not super hard, but it's hard enough that it's going to protect from kind of standard bumps and drops and things like that. But if you puncture or have a hard enough impact with it, it will deform. It's not obviously super hard, but it's hard enough to protect what's inside pretty well for most incidental things. The outside dimensions are 11 by 6.5, and it's about 2.5 to 3 inches or so deep. So I have it packed pretty full, but it's not to the point where it's like bulging at the seams. So you probably could pack it a little bit tighter, but again, you're gonna start running into issues. It's not super flexible, so you're not gonna be able to stretch it so much further than that. It has a nice kind of grab handle at the top and some reversed zippers that probably make it slightly water resistant. And this material for sure water is gonna bead off of, so they're probably slightly water resistant, definitely not waterproof. In fact, where the zippers meet, there's a little gap here just based on the shape of the zipper, so it's definitely not waterproof, so you're not gonna wanna submerge this, of course. But getting into the pack itself, and this was $44.99 on their website, they have some slightly more expensive models that there's like a carbon fiber that has like a part tray on it. That's currently sold out, but there are some slightly more expensive models, but overall pretty reasonably priced, and you get a lot of the accessories that are sold separately come with it, so it's pretty modular out the gate. But right now they have this Foilage Green in stock as well as a Polar White, and they're about to come out with an orange one, so that should be dropping pretty soon. Sorry about that. So let's just kind of dive into here. And so right up front you'll see that this came with some panels in here, but I removed them and just use it as a patch panel board. For now, that's probably actually going to change, but this is what was previously in there. These are 6x5. They're really thin. Maybe, let's see. Yeah, so these loop panels are exactly an inch wide, and so they're really thin. You can't fit a lot of big knives. Obviously, I have some smaller ones in here and some tools and pens and things like that in this one. But I didn't find this one the most useful, so I don't actually use this. I just put these in here so you can get a sense of what type of things actually fit in here. But typically in this center panel, you'll have some sort of pouch or some sort of attachment where you're storing knives. But for now, I just have patches there, but I'll probably actually move those. I'll go into that at the end. And then on the top side, this is also a loop panel in the background, but it has this kind of netting in there. So I have a knife just kind of clipped in there. This is the Kaiser Begleiter 2. And then a Field Notes and Kevlar Hank from Gondek EDC, as well as a few more patches up top. And some of these actually came in here as well. So this whole thing is a loop panel as well, and these will Velcro in there. And so you get a little bit of separation if you do want to keep those in there. Again, I'm not really using these just because they're not so usable for what I'm hoping to use it for, but maybe you have some uses where it is super usable, so, especially if you're storing things like pens and that size of tool. They do fit well in there. And you don't necessarily have to go through the loop. I guess you can just pocket clip to it, and so you can put something that's wider than the loop, but it'll kind of flop around a little bit if you're only using the pocket clip to secure it. So something to keep in mind. And then on the back side, and this is just the back side of that panel, it kind of flips in between. There's a section with 2-inch loops all the way across. So if I could just remove one of these, so there's 3 rows of 2-inch loops and five loops in each row. And so I have a lot of pretty large knives in here. 2 of them are Damn Designs, the Yokai and the Basilisk, the Benchmade Mini Adamas, the Civivi Conspirator, and the CJRB Crag. So pretty full-size knives. There's not, they're not the largest, but there's not a lot of knives that are too much larger unless you're getting into like some of the crazier ones. So this will fit 5 full-size knives over here. You can put smaller knives, but you're not going to make a lot of use of that space, because what I found is if I put like a smaller size knife in here, you can't really do anything with the bottom panel, so you might as well put a full-size knife there. And then moving on to the bottom section, this is also a loop panel, and these are removable. And so I think what I'm going to actually do is put all the patches here in the future. That way the knives aren't like hitting up against each other. Right now, the way it's laid out, these knives are pressing up against the pocket clips from these ones, and so they kind of, you know, there's not any real wear and tear. I mean, I haven't taken it anywhere, I just store it in this. It's not really causing any major wear and tear, but I'd rather not have the knives rubbing up against each other. So what I'll probably do is get another of these large panels and put it on the back side, so I can put 10 full-size knives in here, put patches on this side, and then use this side similar to how I'm using it now. But these panels are also 5x6, but it has an 1.5 wide loop panel, and then a 2-inch panel, and another 1.5 wide. And these are much more usable. So this one I have 2 CRKT CEOs and a Benchmade mini bug out. And this is kind of what I was talking about on the other side, where there's a little bit of space under here, but there's not much you can use that for. I mean, you can put something pretty small here, but not really going to be able to store other knives or anything underneath it, so you might as well make use of it with a knife that kind of fits it well. And then on the other side, I have some smaller knives. This is the ProTech Rent 5, the CRKT Mini CEO, and the Black Fox Panchenko Bean Gen 2. And so some smaller knives, again, where you have a little bit of space up here, but not super usable. So again, I'll probably put those patches over here and then another large panel in, and store about 10 knives. Right now I have 12 knives in here pretty comfortably. There's no issues with closing it. It's not really a tight fit at all. I think if I were to put one more of these large panels, so for example, if I put one on each side and one inside the netting to kind of separate them, I think it might get to the point where it's too thick, where it probably will close, but then you're really putting a lot of stress on that zipper and just kind of asking for failure down the line. So I think I'll probably stick with just kind of 10 large knives in here. But I find this to be a really good way to store my knives. Right now, a lot of them, I have kind of a drawer system that I use that has drawer liners, and they're all just kind of laid out, and there's a bunch of them, and it's kind of messy. And this is a really good way to store them, although not as accessible as a drawer system. But I think what I'm going to do is order the white one and then the orange one once it comes out, so I can store some knives that I'm not using so often. And then I'll stand them up. I'll stand them up like this, side by side, and then they'll just be ready to kind of grab and go. Just to really cut down on storage space and clear out my drawers. This is a nice organized system. I don't typically store patches in here. I mean, there's an open panel right now because I haven't ordered the accessories that I need. It comes with every panel that you saw, the large panel, the 4 small panels, including these 2, and then the one with the 1.5, 2, and 1.5 inch loops. But you can buy them separately as well. So the cases that come with those 5 panels are $44.99, but without the case, you can buy 2 of the large panels for $13.99 or 4 of the small ones for $10.99. Now, the small ones that are $10.99 are all going to be this panel here. As far as I can tell, they don't sell this one separately on their website. So if you want this one, I guess you just have to live with the 2 that come in the case. As far as I can tell, they don't sell them. Maybe they do or will in the future, and they're just out of stock right now. But currently, they're not on their website. And most of the products that are sold out are listed as out of stock. So I don't think it's a case where they're just sold out and they'll be back. Not the biggest deal for me because I'm only really planning on using these large panels. And then for the patches, I probably won't keep them in here. Just kind of thought it was a cool way to show the modularity of this and like different uses you can use if you want to use it to take some patches with you and some knives with you. It's definitely doable. I typically store most of my patches. I have like a 3-ring notebook with like patch or loop panel pages, and so I store them in there. This actually kind of bends at the edge, so like you can see this one's kind of bent over. I don't think it'll cause permanent damage though, just being stored in here, but over time it might eventually cause like a crease or permanent damage there, so probably would not use this, at least right here, for storing patches. If I were going to store them in here permanently, I'd probably put them on that outside edge again, just to kind of as a buffer from the knives rubbing up against each other, but also as a way to protect the patches from getting weird creases in them and bending weirdly. But I'll put links to, or actually the handles for all of the Instagrams for the different patches. I'm not going to go over them obviously in any detail just because there's so many, but I'll put Instagram handles in the description below if you want to check them out. Most of these, with a few exceptions, are ones that you kind of have to pay attention for drops. They're not readily available, and so almost all of these are sold out with a few exceptions. But if you follow them on Instagram, they post in their stories and their posts when there's going to be drops, and for the most part they're usually relatively easy to get as long as you're there on time, but they do sell out really quickly, so something to keep in mind. But thanks so much for watching. In the comments below, let me know what you think of the Vault case, if you have any alternative similar cases that hold a decent number of knives, and how you store your knives in general. But thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And as always, hope you have a great one.